好，歡迎大家嚟到我個 channel 啦。咁今日咧就亦都有另外嘅嘉賓上嚟嘅。咁我就成日都講啦，即係喺英國投資咧可以有buy to let 啊，有 HMO 啊 ，service accommodation 啊 ，housing association 啦。其實有好多唔同種嘅，但係呢四種嘅 property 咧都係 involve 你要去買一個 property 翻嚟。之後再進行某啲動作啦，就用一個 strategy 咁樣去出租嘅 ，OK？ 咁但係咧，其實有啲方法咧係可以用好少錢咧，都係可以賺到個現金流嘅，都收租。咁其中一個方法咧就係租上租啦，所謂嘅rent to rent 啦。So hello Matt, so I know you've got some experience in rent to rent. So and I know you've done a few deals as well. Can you tell us more about rent to rent in general, and if you've got any experience that you want to share with us?
Yes, so there's the two main strategies we do in rent to rent HMO, which is the room share kind of strategy, and also rent to rent serviced accommodation, which is kind of that everyone knows it as Airbnb these days.
So you take like a buy to let property, you rent it from the landlord,
yeah,
and then you sublet it as an HMO or with a service accommodation.
Correct, yeah.
Right, okay, so with this strategy, obviously, the way that I see it is you don't have to buy the property to benefit on the rental income.
Yeah.
But what are the risks and other benefits of this strategy?
Yeah, so with rent to rent HMO, obviously you've got the risk of, the room's not getting filled,
right,
and you've still got rent to pay. We've got guaranteed rents on ours, so we have to pay that, we have to meet those needs. You've also got our rent to rent HMOs are professionals, so we pay the bills, council tax, Wi-Fi, all the rest of it. We've got all these outgoings. If we've got rooms that are empty, we're going to struggle. The other things are, it's really important to get the right tenants in, like every strategy. So sometimes we've had tenants who've been, badly behaved and have not gotten well with other tenants, but we try our best to vet them, and do a good referencing process. So we kind of skirted around that one a lot. I guess one of the main good things of getting into it is it's a really quick process. We sign the contracts and then the property's yours. When you're buying properties, the conveyance process, as takes a long time, especially when mortgages are involved. But then you've got the downside that you're not growing the asset, you don't get any appreciation. You've got
just the
rental income. What's just happened recently in the UK is the energy bills have gone up significantly, so you're at risk of your profits being shrunk because of that. You're at risk of different legislation changes. But overall it is a really good strategy if you get it right. If you get the rents right, you get the right tenants in, it can be largely hassle-free on the rent to rent HMO side. On their serviced accommodation side, you've got really good chance to make a lot of profit. But again, it's the occupancy, we call it, in serviced accommodation. If you're not getting guests in, you're going to struggle. You've got rent to pay, you've got bills to pay regardless. Again, the tenants, so we've got properties, we've just had one where people have come for the weekend in Newcastle and the property is a mess. We're going to have to replace linens, we're going to have to replace bedding, the toilet's blocked. It's not an easy strategy at times, but the reward, it's high risk, high reward serviced accommodation.
I see. So with rent to rent, clearly the risk is if you don't get it filled or do it successfully, then it's very easy to lose money.
Yeah.
Whereas for a normal, when you purchase the property, it's difficult to lose money.
Yeah.
So Matt, if I have a property and you are looking to take it rent to rent off me, what are the terms and how would you pitch it? Is it a longer lease? It can't be 1 year, right?
No, that's it. Yeah. So usually there's some upfront costs to go into rent to rent. So usually a cosmetic refurb. So we offer 3 to 5 years guaranteed rent to landlords, depending on what the landlord's most comfortable with. But if, for example, it's a 5-year lease, we're happy if the refurb costs a full year profit. If it's kind of a shorter lease, we try and get it to a 6 month, so that after 6 months we're in profit. So we would have a cosmetic refurb to pay.
So you actually spend money to refurb on the landlord's property to get it to a higher standard, out of your own pocket or the landlord's pocket?
Out of our pocket. So that's everything's negotiable, but the way we've structured is, and some of our landlords have paid some if it's kind of a larger refurb, but we've paid for the painting and decorating to be done, new furniture, got the property up to standard. So
in fact, when you structure the deal, if you say 5 years, in fact, for the first 6 or 12 months, is in fact refurb money?
That's it, yeah. So you've got to get the rooms filled, you've got to get as little voids as possible because, that's going to eat away at your profit for the duration of the rent.
And then similar, is that for, rent to HMO and rent to SA too?
Yeah, so usually, the type of landlord that we get is, the properties are maybe a little bit run down or they haven't been looked after as well as they should have been. So there's usually a small refurb to do when we go in. So the serviced accommodation ones we've done, it's a little bit more pricey because we have to buy all the white goods usually.
Oh, right, yes.
And furnish the full properties, on top of all the others. So you've got a higher cost to go in. Again, high risk, high reward. More cost in, but potentially higher profits each month.
So it's great for the landlord if the landlord doesn't want any hassle on dealing with the property and letting it out because you're offering a guaranteed rent, right?
Yeah.
And then for you don't mind doing the work and having the benefit of not needing to own a property to collect the rental income.
That's it. We've got refurb teams, we've got maintenance teams, we've got teams that can help us, support us. Whereas the landlord might just want to get his rent paid. For some people, the most money is not the best situation. Some people want less hassle and they're happy to take slightly less money for that.
Now I understand more about rent to rent. So tell me your experience. Did you have great success or some failures with rent to rent?
Yeah, some wins, some losses. We've been quite lucky with rent to rent HMO where we got in early. Just before COVID with some in good areas. And the demand for rooms in Newcastle has gone up and up and up, so we've never really had a void in our properties. But with serviced accommodation, we've had some wins and some losses. We've had properties where we've handed back the keys.
All right.
We didn't pick the areas correctly, we didn't get the correct training perhaps, and we didn't get the bookings, and then we've had management company issues, cleaning company issues. It's not an easy strategy. It's not like buy-to-let where you just set it and forget kind of, you've got ongoing maintenance, ongoing, all these things. So
do you have more success in rent to HMOs than rent to SAs?
Arguably, you make more money in rent to service accommodation, but the risks are a lot higher. We've just had some people staying at ours on the weekend. They've left it a mess. They come for a party. Obviously, we're going to have to replace linens and.
Surely you have to charge the.
Well, we're going to try, but that's another issue. So rent to rent HMO is more stable. You've got tenants in for 6 months minimum. So once you put them in, usually if you're in a good group, they'll kind of just settle and you don't get a lot of hassle. But serviced accommodation, it's every week, every weekend we've got a changeover. So more maintenance.
I see. So in terms of for people, wanting to try out rent to rent, what would be your advice to them? What are the things that they should look out for? I
would say definitely get some training. When I started, I got a mentor because it's all good doing training. Sometimes you need someone there to ask questions to. Something happens that that wasn't on the training. You're like, what do I do now? I would say picking the area is one of the most important things, and the landlord needs to be flexible and negotiable. You need to get the right rental price, and you need to work with someone who is not going to be on your case all the time, is a bit more, because things do change, things go on. So I think most importantly, get trained and pick the right area and get the rents right.
係啦，大家覺得咧就呢個係好有趣嘅，因為有一啲其他嘅方法都可以收到租金啊。咁呢度就我就請咗佢過嚟同我哋講下究竟呢一個 rent to rent 點樣去操作咯。For telling us about rent to rent。係啦，嗱，今條片就差唔多去到呢一度啦。如果中意呢條片嘅話咧，記得 like 啦，同埋 subscribe 呢個 channel，同埋 follow 我嘅 Facebook page。今日咧講到呢度，下次再見。嚟緊我有個英國房地產嘅免費分享會嘅，會公開我喺英國買樓嘅一啲嘅知識同埋技巧嘅，大家千祈唔好錯過啦！報名嘅連結咧亦都放咗喺下邊，到時見你。